How do we interact with art? In this video, I wanted to explore the various levels of interactivity that one may have when consuming an art piece. Think about it. When it comes to entertainment in general, by default we have our own set-in-stone engagement habits that we sort of take for granted. It just becomes second nature. When it comes to stuff like YouTube, TV shows, movies, anime, or cartoons, we as viewers passively consume the video feed via our distribution platform of choice, and our interactivity levels are relatively limited. You can pause or play a video, which is usually controlled by a click or the press of a button or two. If you want to adjust the video stream, you can change the watching speed to be faster, or maybe you simply want to fast forward to a specific moment. Alternatively, you can slow things down if you really want to figure out a small detail in the background that can easily be missed otherwise. Rewinding is always an option too, especially for those really important moments that need to be replayed again and again. When it comes to the language in which the media is delivered in, ideally you can turn the subtitles on or off, especially for the sake of accessibility and general convenience. Sometimes stuff even gets dubbed into multiple languages, so you can pick and choose whatever suits your fancy. It kinda goes without saying, but all of these aspects differ from device to device. One thing's for sure though, you're either going to be tapping away, clicking or pressing buttons, as much or as little as needed. Formats come and go, distribution mediums and methods change, but at this point in time, I think it's safe to say that when you watch something, it's going to be digital in one way or another, whether it's on streaming or any of the popular physical media formats such as DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, and why the hell not, even VHS. Creators have set expectations on how the viewers are meant to consume their works. The pacing is predetermined, and as a watcher, all you really have to do is sit back, enjoy the show, and immerse yourself. Sometimes a specific format may be the recommended experience, but at the end of the day, whether it's at the cinema or your own living room, the video itself will be unchanged. Basically, you're always expected to watch things in a straightforward fashion, never backwards. There's only one direction. It's also worth mentioning how places like YouTube and Netflix offer interactive specials, where the viewer gets to change the course of the story and directly influence the ending of the series. YouTube also had some cute Easter eggs available on their video player in the before times, but they're long gone. Now, if we move on to paper media like manga, comics, or books in general, the interactivity options are essentially split between the physical and digital editions. Books have been around for a while to say the least. It's a format that simply works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You pick something off the shelf and get immersed. As simple as that. With paper books, you get to interact with each page on an individual level. You can take your time and go at your own pace. In theory, there are no set rules or time limits. When it comes to reading, a lot of the nuance comes from the language the work is published in. The layout of the text can vary in fascinating ways and impact the way the book is meant to be read. What about the experience of holding a book and just flipping through it? Theoretically, there shouldn't be that much to it, but some publications go out of their way to stand out in unexpected ways. Here's a great example. I have the Mud and Sludge art book by Kyu Hayashida, as it goes above and beyond in order to create a memorable artistic showcase. Starting with the cover, it plays around with different textures. You have a rough and grainy surface that contrasts with the random splotches that have an interesting oil slick finish. Some of the text is indented while the rest is raised. When you open up the book, you're greeted with a color page that's embossed and shiny, slowly pulling you in with its tactile nature. The pages have different thicknesses, and their finishes switch around between matte, glossy, sketchy, and textured, alternating just enough to keep things fresh. I love how this publication also goes out of its way to entice more than just your eyes. Most books have an ink smell, which is pretty innocuous, but here the ink has somewhat of an earthy tone. I'm not sure quite how to describe it, but it's what I'd imagine the twisted world of Dorohedoro smells like. It adds immersion, it draws you in, it's alluring and mysterious. All that from one art book. It's amazing. Sometimes interactivity can come from surprising places. The Japanese editions for the One Punch Man manga have special covers and dust jacket designs. If you think outside the box, you may see things in a different light. The 3D art and interconnecting covers are optional experiences and can even be considered secrets, but I appreciate the extra effort and ingenuity. Some books are really clunky, but that's perfectly fine. Not only do you get double the content, but also heavy-duty protective gear when in need. Moving on to something a bit more unique. How about flipbooks? They technically count as books, and on top of that, they add a fun twist by bringing art to life one frame at a time. Coloring books also make you interact with art in a transformative way that lets you connect to each piece on a more personal level. What about something like newspapers? Do those still exist? I guess you can fold them around. Before I make the switch over to digital formats, I wanted to highlight how manga and comics have panels and speech bubbles that need to be read in a specific way for things to make sense. The art, paneling, and words all guide you along smoothly. The artist is the puppet master, and all you have to do is follow along and embrace the immersion, page by page. Okay, let's finally transition over to ebooks. You can condense an entire library into your device of choice and always have your favorite literature on hand. Things are mostly the same. You interact with the pages by tapping or pressing buttons. There also is some added flexibility since you have the option to vertically scroll through the text. With comics and manga, you can go panel by panel as well. I know I'm stating the obvious here, but in order to read, you need to fully concentrate and use your eyes to absorb the information. With that in mind, reading and driving at the same time sounds like a terrible idea and a car crash waiting to happen. That's where audiobooks come in. Rather than actively engaging with the book, it becomes more of a passive experience where you can soak in the words in an audio format. This is especially useful if you like multitasking. Alright, time to move on to the final pit stop of this video: gaming. Interactivity and video games sound like a match made in heaven, where your possibilities as a player are truly limitless. Is that really true though? Well, yes and no at the same time. The engagement is limited by your controller of choice, the style and genre of game that you're playing, and the overall abilities of the player. By design, games are made to be immersive. You play around in a digital realm that responds to your every whim. Input devices unlock your ability to communicate with the virtual side. Game controllers are by far the most common way to start off your play session without a hitch. They come in many shapes and sizes, and throughout the history of gaming, we've seen many trends come and go. I'd like to highlight how Nintendo really set the gold standard for controllers back in the day when things were getting out of hand during the crash of the gaming industry from the early 80s. The NES or Famicom controller has a simple, intuitive, and effective design. It instantly conveys what you can and can't do. The reduced amount of buttons helped break down the walls between the player and the pixelated world on screen. It was a massively influential design that kept being built upon and perfected, one iteration at a time. That was for 2D games though. What if we make the leap and add another dimension? Well, for 3D games, the base design for controllers stayed the same for the most part. The addition of analog sticks allowed players to smoothly navigate around and explore the uncharted territories that came with this massive evolution in gaming. After many gradual adjustments and improvements, we've reached a point where most gamepads are so good that they almost feel like extensions of your hands, allowing you to reach into the game. A lot of wacky experimentation still happened along the way. Here's some highlights. During the Wii era of gaming, players got the chance to interact with games via motion controls, with mixed results. Other interesting or outright bizarre gimmick control schemes have also popped up over the decades. Some were genuinely cool and added new layers of interactivity, while others were just infuriating to deal with. Then you have arcade systems with all kinds of crazy control schemes, ranging from simple and intuitive to understand, to outright daunting and complex. I also wanted to give PC gaming a shout out since a mouse and keyboard are all that you'll ever need. You can typically customize things as much as you want and use any compatible controllers too. Pretty darn sweet. Another thing that I love about video games is how I get to directly interact with the art itself and how each playthrough is a unique experience. Every micro decision you make influences your progress and surroundings. VR technology is promised to be the next step in interactivity and immersion in gaming, and it's undeniable that the potential is there. As much as I'd like to dive into the depths, Ghost in the Shell style, the truth is that virtual reality still has a long way to go until it feels fleshed out enough, at least to the point where it becomes widely adopted by people. I think that's about it. You clicked on this video, therefore you interacted with it, and I hope you enjoyed your time here. Thanks for watching.